Hey everyone, hope you're having a great week. I thought it'd be really cool to shoot a video addressing all the YouTube comments I've been getting across my videos around starting a business and how to deal with failure, in case it helps anyone out there trying. And if this is the first time you're tuning into one of my vids, to give you a bit of context, my name's Tashi Dorji. I started a business that turned restaurants that were closed during the day into co-working spaces that hit a $10 million valuation and then ultimately failed. So I shared my lessons around that. And today I work as a corporate exec at a Fortune 200 global real estate company. So I translated a lot of my entrepreneurial skills and lessons to that job, and I like to share how I did that too. So let's get started. So the first question, what was the most significant challenge when starting a business alone? Well, I gotta say, having the drive to do it, which is why my advice to first-time founders is always, if you're gonna start something, make sure it's an idea that you really care about and it's a problem you wanna solve. Because if you're starting a business for the sake of starting it, the second it gets tough or it starts taking too long, the odds are you're going to give up. I also think having a co-founder helps a lot if you're able to find one. And I know it's not an easy task, but it is doable because that really helps set a tone of accountability and respect amongst yourselves as founders, because then you're going to do the work, you're not going to flake, and you're going to really get addicted to progress and moving forward. How do you deal with the constant fear of failing in your startup? Ooh, that's a really good one, because fear is tricky, right? What I always do is I use fear to my advantage in the way that I ask myself, what do I fear more? The fear of failure or the fear of never trying and regretting that? And I think the fear of regret for me is way stronger. So I use it to get started, right? So when you think about the big macro failures, they happen all the time and you take your lessons from it and you move on. Fair dinkum, right? But the smaller failures you can really make work for you, right? So think about almost weight training, right? You literally, every set of weights, you push yourself to failure, because when it starts to hurt and when you fail and you can't lift one more each set, that's when you're growing, right? As an individual. Same principle, I think, for running a business or even self-development or when you're working at your day job. If you can figure out a way how to keep pushing yourself and really enter that zone of growth, it'll serve you really well. And I've done a video all about optimal push and failure range if you're interested, because I think everyone should be embracing failure, not scared of it. What would be a good business idea to start if you had no money to put into it? And what's the first step in starting that business? I think we live in a golden age right now for solopreneurs and new first-time founders in the form of content creation, right? We really live in an attention-driven economy right now, and there's two ways of doing it. If there's something that you really love and enjoy, that you would love to make content around, and it doesn't have to be professional stuff. It could be cooking, it could be cars, it could be painting little figurines, it could be something really niche. I think lean into it. Put some effort into your videos, be consistent, and build an audience. You'd be really surprised at how you can build a business that way. And if it's off a professional skill, figure out a way how to put out relatable content so that your personal brand becomes just as valuable and as strong as the product or the service you're trying to sell. Like for me, for example, I really am passionate about helping first-time founders start their first business or anything startup or business related. So I'm committed to putting videos out there that help people and eventually hopefully building an audience that, at some point I can figure out how to monetize and build a business off. By monetize, I don't mean sell and flog stuff to you, but it could be ad revenue through YouTube or other platforms that I'd like to get attention on, that kind of stuff, right? Most of us are stuck in 9-to-5 jobs and don't have time to give real thought to solving a problem and therefore starting a business. Super true. However, I really think the best startups and the best ideas out there are born from founders that are trying to solve a problem in their everyday lives. Whether that's happening in work or whether it's happening at home. This comes back to the point I made earlier around make sure you really care about the problem you're trying to solve or it hits home. Because that way you're going to really be able to put in the hard yards, the hard work, stick around when things aren't working and see it through. So it's almost like you're totally right. And I think to work in the favor of that, you're stuck in your 9-to-5 and you don't really have time to come up with these quirky ideas or what am I going to do for this new business, you'll probably end up coming up with an idea that is really good because it's solving a problem that you have to deal with every day. What was the biggest challenge in the early stages of your business and how did you overcome it? Honestly, the earliest challenge is just starting. because it's so easy to put it off and think you need more time, you need to fine tune your product offering, you need to get funding, blah, 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 and then you never end up doing it, and you turn into that guy or girl that's running around just talking about that idea forever, but never does anything. So I think just starting is actually the first challenge, because you know that saying, knowing is half the battle? I frankly think when it comes to first-time founders, starting is half the battle. Because whatever you think your product or your idea is, after like a year of testing and trying out and doing it, it's going to look nothing like what you started with. Your problem statement may have even changed, and you may have gone on a different direction entirely, but it's still okay because it was inspired by your original product and your original idea. So just starting. And how did I overcome it? Well, one day I just was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And I did. And it was controlled chaos, right? With my idea, Two Space, when I first started, I had no experience in co-working, no experience in restaurants or hospitality, but I figured out what were the key moving parts I needed to get it off the ground. You know, the first venue, a Wi-Fi provider to make sure the venues had internet, and some press to get hype, because I didn't have any money or marketing budget to get my first customers. So I went on this quest to get those three moving parts to launch the business. And it all worked out, and it would never have happened if I wasn't just like, I just got to get started. It would have been so easy to keep putting it off. So just start. I have lots of businesses in my mind. I don't know how to get started properly. I think just pick one. I really do. I used to have tons of ideas before my first startup, and it was really easy to get excited and be like, oh, what about this? What about this? I'll buy the website URL for this, or we'll start all of these at the same time. The biggest lesson that you will learn as a first-time founder is just how much time and effort is required to get that idea off the ground. You will not have the capacity to do more than one unless you're like the seasoned veteran with resources to deploy in lots of different areas. For a first-time founder, my advice is to pick one and to go with it. You underestimate just how hard it's going to be, which is actually a superpower of a first-time founder, ignorance. I think ignorance is bliss in this case. And actually, second random point, I see a lot of startup founders who are like, oh, someone's going to steal my idea. I better not share it. I better not tell anyone about it because they're going to run off and do it. I can honestly say no one's going to steal your idea. It'd be too hard and it would require too much effort to pull off. You're the only crazy one who's about to embark on that journey. Oh, I love this comment, and I completely agree. It is a marathon, not a 100-meter dash, not a sprint. If you look at starting a business as milestones that you have to hit within the first year, second year, and you go sprinting, you will burn out, right? Everyone burns out at some point in their life. It's just a matter of how quickly do you get there. And I burnt out many times. And that's a big reason why our company failed, right? Because my co-founder and I burnt out towards the end, and it didn't help that the market took a big hot steaming dump on us because of COVID. But it's because at the very beginning we were sprinting all the time. Whereas you got to realize that a lot of these ideas and businesses that you start might take even 2-3 years before you even start getting momentum. Okay? So it really is a marathon and not a sprint. Now, because I really like that last comment, I'm just going to let this comment sit here for a second. Because when I read this, I was like, oh, this is why I do these videos, honestly. To know that I have even the smallest amount of positive influence on someone out there trying just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So if you're out there and you're giving it a shot, I tip my hat to you and I salute you. Good job. You know, you got this.